Welcome to Love Byte. My girlfriend and I had been together for 5 years, and I was planning on proposing to her before all of this happened. We met in college, and now that we've both graduated and have good jobs, it seemed like the right time to take the step forward. She was practically everything I wanted in a partner. She was kind and funny, and she always put other people before herself. I had wanted to start a family practically my entire life, and she seemed like the perfect partner to do that with. She wasn't the first woman that I had been with, but I was the first guy she had been with. Just a little backstory about me. I've never really felt the drive to have intimacy that a lot of other men do. I see in popular media how it's almost a compulsion that a lot of guys have. I've always felt somewhat indifferent towards it. Through some friends, I had been able to come to the conclusion that I might actually be bisexual. I didn't mind intimacy. I had had it many times, but it was normally something that I did just for the sake of the relationship. When my girlfriend and I first hooked up, she told me that she thought I didn't like her because I never made a move on her. I had never been the one to initiate anything because I genuinely didn't think about it. When I told my girlfriend that I thought I might be ace, she was a little bit upset about it. She didn't know what it meant for our relationship if I didn't want to have intimacy. I understood her concerns, and I told her that if she wanted to find someone else who could be more aggressive sexually, then I would support her. Of course, I told her we would be breaking up, and we could continue being friends. After a long discussion, we decided that we wanted to continue our relationship. Again, I still had intimacy, and I didn't have a problem with that. So our compromise was that she would just have to be more upfront about when she wanted it. I know this sexuality seems confusing, so just a brief explanation of it before moving on. I am a sex-neutral bisexual, meaning that I don't have any aversions to intimacy. I just don't personally feel a need to have it. Some bisexuals are aromantic and don't want any relationships at all. Some, like me, still want to be in a relationship and have a partner. I'm stressing this here because I was very vocal about this after our conversation. I told my girlfriend that if she ever felt like this wasn't working out, I wanted her to tell me so we could move our separate ways. I didn't want her to feel like she was having to sacrifice a part of the relationship to be with me, but I wanted a monogamous relationship. I had no interest in opening anything up so we could still continue our emotional relationship while she was sleeping with someone else. After I told her everything, we got back to normal pretty quickly. A couple of times a week, she would initiate intimacy, and we would have it like we always did. Over the course of about 6 months, she slowly stopped initiating it. Again, I really didn't think about it much. There was a point while we were watching a television show together and a sex scene came on that the sudden realization hit me. I asked her if everything was okay, and she told me that it was. I was a little bit concerned when I realized we hadn't had intimacy. I knew that it was something that my girlfriend thought was important, and she really enjoyed herself. I couldn't help but worry that she was getting that from somewhere else. I let the days pass, and she still hadn't done anything to initiate intimacy with me. Eventually, I asked her about it outright. She told me that she just hadn't really been in the mood, but assured me that there was nothing going on. I felt comforted hearing her tell me that outright. At least, I felt that way until I saw a mark on her neck. It was something that she was clearly trying to cover up with makeup, but the collar of her sweater rubbed it off just a bit. It was clearly some kind of hickey. I didn't say anything right away. Instead, I just pretended like I didn't see anything. I knew I needed to try to figure out what was going on before she continued to lie to me. She had recently taken up a yoga class, and after doing some thinking, I realized that the dates kind of coincided with when we hadn't been sleeping together. I thought that if she were taking the time to cheat on me, that might have been it. So I waited for her to tell me she was going to yoga one evening, and I followed her there. I was right to suspect that she wasn't actually doing yoga because she met a guy at a bar. It was hard for me to make out who he was at first because he was facing away from the window, but as they left together, I recognized him instantly. He was a friend of hers that we would occasionally hang out with because he was her friend. Seeing them together wasn't damning in itself. They could have just been grabbing a drink, but I didn't understand why she would lie about going to yoga. I needed to find something more concrete before I went to her with this. I followed them as they went back to what I figured was his apartment. While they were inside, I did a little digging on the guy since I didn't really know him too well. As I did, I remembered that my girlfriend had even been talking to me about how excited she was for his wedding. He had just gotten engaged to another woman. I really hoped that if she was cheating on me with anyone, it wasn't him. Knowingly sleeping with your engaged friend is a crappy thing to do. I couldn't get any information from watching his apartment, so I just went home and waited for her to get back. Before I could even ask her how her evening was, she started telling me about all of the yoga stuff she'd been doing. She was lying to me completely. When she went to sleep, I went through her phone to see if I could gather any evidence. I went to their text messages, and I saw a lot of concerning exchanges. They had sent each other nude pictures. He told her that he would have never gotten engaged if he knew she wanted him, and she talked about how she couldn't understand my sexuality. The tone of their messages felt very judgmental of me and very invalidating. It doesn't seem like it from this post, but having this realization has taken a toll on me. Hearing somebody that I cared about talk about it so flippantly was upsetting. I took plenty of screenshots, especially of the exchanges where he mentioned not wanting to get married, and I sent them to myself. I had no idea who his fiancée was, but after a little bit of research, I found out that she was a recent law school graduate and had just gotten a job at a local firm. I reached out to her to schedule a meeting, making it seem like I had a legal issue. Thankfully, she had one free consultation available, so I took that. When I met with her, I came clean about why I was really there. I explained to her how I knew her, and I showed her the evidence that I had. She was broken up about it, but she thanked me for telling her before she ended up being legally bound to him for the rest of her life. She had always been concerned about his relationship with my girlfriend. She mentioned that it was obvious to her that they had some kind of feelings for each other, but since they were both in relationships, she didn't think anything would come of it. As I was driving home, I just kept thinking about how they were talking about me, and I didn't feel like telling the fiancé was enough revenge. I wanted to do something to really hurt them. Like I said earlier, I really was planning on marrying her. I had a ring and everything. My girlfriend loved big romantic displays, so I figured I'd give her one. I knew that the man she cheated on me with was about to get dumped by his fiancée, and I wanted my girlfriend to have a similar experience. I took her out to a nice restaurant, and at the end of the evening, I paid the band to play her song. When it came on, she commented on it, and I told her I orchestrated it for the evening. I got down on one knee, and I started out pretending like I was proposing. She was very excited and smiling while crying. Everything about her reaction made it seem like she would have married me. If that was the case, why cheat on me? I stood up before I asked her the final question, and I told her that was what might have happened if I didn't find out she was sleeping with another man. Her face completely fell, and all of the people who were watching us with happy smiles immediately turned away. I explained how I knew everything, making no effort to keep my voice down. One of the staff at the restaurant actually had to escort us out because we were causing a scene. I broke everything off with my girlfriend after that, and I kicked her out of our apartment. She has messaged me countless times, begging me to give her another chance. She tried to explain her actions by telling me that she felt like it was my fault. I'll admit, a huge part of it might have been. I didn't even realize we weren't having intimacy until it had been weeks since we stopped, but I told her from the start that she should tell me if she wanted out. It seemed like she wanted to be with me while also sleeping with the other guy, and I wasn't okay with that. I ended up blocking her number, but she continues to call me from burner numbers that she downloads. I'm planning on changing phone plans so I can get a new number, and I'm planning on moving out of my apartment so she won't know where I am.